I did it for the love, I did it for the people, I did it for us.
Back on this rap-ish, I ain't even broke a sweat, homie, this practice. Pondering my next move, staring at my track list, hope I ain't miss my window. Praying like a Baptist, Seattle's own, tired of this Game of Thrones. They made a list of the best rappers and guess who wasn't on? While the disrespect continues, I'm steady packing these venues. Guess if you ain't at the table, you on the menu, and I'm that spitter, baby. They don't want you to see, but everybody's south of Capitol Hill's rocking with me. Boys smoke the trays and ponder getting their life together. I'm comfortable with my role, so I'm like, whatever. I ain't got a job, but I work hard. And you don't work hard, but you got a job. The irony is I'm judged while you feel the applause. I'm slept on, that's why I had to set this alarm. My dudes is armed, I'm armed with this arm charm. Body banging like she got that cream from Barry Bonds. Yeah.
I did it for the city, I did it for the love, I did it for the people, I did it for us.
That Dre season is here, a real hitter with a mic, I'm everything that they fear. With that hood ain't the same, I was all on their ass, I'm level-headed. So yo, my dudes love when I spaz, and I'm so over Seattle's passive-aggressive attitude. They don't call you back, what they really saying is F you. While I'm from the same place, I move at a different pace. I prefer if you just said it to my face, damn, I did it.
I did it for the city, I did it for the love, I did it for the people, I did it for us.
Average dudes with they average spit, writing average rhymes, knocking average chicks. The closer I get, I can feel the people starting to shift. I'm loyal to a fault, and everybody can't come with. Rap's a rich man's game, I'm only playing with change. They bang models and singers, I'm knocking my old flame, I'm different. The crowd, I move with the chosen few. Black thoughts, I could be the front man for the roots. No diamonds and gold, I'm on my sticks and stones. If we can see your panty line, you should have on a thong. My team is strong, through this fire we forged a bond. And they already know what it is when I get on. To the hearse, party like it's December 31st. When I'm on my deathbed, I probably cracking my nurse. You ain't got the bars to compete, I'm a verbal athlete. Deflating these boys so they say that I cheat. Damn, I did it.
I did it for the city, I did it for the love, I did it for the people, I did it for us.
Yeah. I should probably start by apologizing for the long wait, man. You know, I know I be tripping. But I'm not just a rapper, I'm an artist. And, you know, my creative process is a little bit different than most. Nonetheless, I want to welcome everybody out to the Dre's Experience. I got TCF in the building, my whole camp's here with me. I got the band in here laying this cool-ass vibe. And I'm Seattle's own. Let's get into it.
Welcome everybody to the Morning Update Show. A warm welcome Wednesday to ya. Not so warm outside, but it may get there. I don't know if y'all experienced it yesterday, but that sun was out and it looks like spring is coming. I see the flowers blooming. I'm telling you, it's feeling real good here in the Black Media Matter Studios. Want to welcome you guys to the Morning Update Show. I am your host for the day, Trey Holiday, and we got an amazing show for you guys today. We got some videos we're going to be showing later in the show, and we also got an amazing, when I tell you amazing, world-renowned producer in the building, Mike Elizando. I get to dive in with him today and all things more music at the More. Looking forward to it. And really, you know, you guys, we really appreciate you guys always watching our show, sharing our show. And so, you know, right now is a perfect opportunity for you to tag and share the stream. Please tag and share the stream with people that you feel could benefit from some culturally relevant news emanating from right here in the Emerald City. Got to give a big shout out to our partners over at the South Seattle Emerald and KBCS 91.3 over at Bellevue College. Appreciate you guys' partnership. We've been keeping this message alive, you guys know, as restrictions are changing around here with COVID-19. It's still out there, right? People, I just saw a new variant pop up. Oh, goodness, these variants, right? So if you're looking to get information, Salman is putting the link in the comments there for hereforuswa.org. Culturally responsive communication around COVID-19, particularly for the Black community. And, for those of you that are still hesitant about the vaccine, still don't know the information you need about COVID, Here for Us WA has said we're going to be intentional about talking to the Black community. We're going to be intentional about getting Black content creators to produce this content. Loved hearing some of the behind the scenes that went into this with Larry Williams the other day on Monday when he was here in the Black Media Matters studios, and understanding that the intentionality was real. And so we want you guys to know that this resource is out there for you. Shout out to the Department of Health for the work they've done on that campaign. We even get to talk to Keith, I think tomorrow too. That was one of the main folks you guys have seen in the commercial for hereforuswa.org. Again, check out that website if you guys are looking for all things COVID-19 information. Also got to give a big shout out over here. We got the For Culture grants. These project grants are helping people do projects in arts, preservation, and heritage. For Culture stays on it with their intentionality. You guys know, for me, intentionality is key. And one of the things that For Culture said is, look, we need to make sure that we are opening up this access. And as Omari said the other day, which I appreciated so much, let's just make it be what it should have been from the beginning. Not removing barriers, but making sure that people that need this information are getting it. People that need these funds are also getting it. So if you know of artists out there that are doing works around arts, preservation, or heritage, please let them know about this intentional funding source. Again, Salman's putting the link in the comments, making it easy there for you guys to go ahead and share that resource out. Again, huge shout out to For Culture for, not just opening up the process, but really helping folks through the application, which is so key. A lot of times, creatives are like, look, that's the other side of the brain. So I really appreciate that. Everybody over there at For Culture, you guys are amazing with it. Another opportunity for funding here is for some students. When it comes to scholarships, Seattle Colleges Foundation is doing $4,000 on average in their scholarship fund. And this is about lived experience, like lived expenses, all the things you guys need to live. So if you need to pay rent with this money, if you need to buy food with this money, you guys have that opportunity to do so. And it's not often that we see scholarships that are a bit more unrestricted like this one is. So I really want to give a huge shout out to Seattle Colleges Foundation for understanding that students need these kinds of funds in order to continue their studies. A lot of funds that come through are specific for tuition, for books, for, room and board if you're staying on campus, not so much if you're staying off campus. So I really appreciate this effort by Seattle Colleges Foundation. And I want to send a shout out to those people that are just now, if you're in the Seattle Promise, you qualify for this. If you're looking to go to one of our Seattle colleges, North Central or South Seattle College, you guys can apply for this fund. And $4,000 can go a long way, especially if you have a great way of already managing your expenses as a college student, which is so necessary for so many of us. That I know for me, when I was in college, it was necessary. So I can only imagine for those of you now with the growing expenses we have in terms of rent being higher now, all of these things. Take advantage of this opportunity. Also, too, you guys, our guy Brian and Mike Davis are normally here. Mike Davis is not here today, but I'm really looking forward to this video that Brian Callanan sent in so we can know about all things happening this week on Seattle News, Views, and Brews.
Hey, Trey, I'm sorry I can't join you live and in person, but I wanted to let people know what's going on with Seattle News, Views, and Brews this evening on Converge at 7 o'clock. We got a ton of stuff we're talking about. One of the top stories that we're looking at, me and David Croman from the Seattle Times talking about this stuff, we're talking about something that's actually not going on 3rd Avenue in the downtown area. This is an area where last week Seattle police were saying, all right, we're going to put a crackdown in place. We're really going to crack down on disorderly conduct on buses. This is a law that's on the books for the city of Seattle, but enforcing it is a little different. This isn't something that the city of Seattle has enforced quite a bit over the past several years. So the mayor has decided, okay, we're going to put a pause on that for a little bit, try to figure out exactly the best way to help people who are in that area who really need assistance with drug addiction, with homelessness. So they're putting a pause on that with regard to what the SPD is doing in that area. You will still notice a lot of Seattle police officers around there. You'll notice the mobile precinct too, but they're changing their approach just a little bit, and we'll wait to hear more from the mayor as to how that's going to look. I should also point out that there's something very interesting that the Seattle City Council is wrestling with right now, and that is the HOPE team. This is very interesting. This is something you might remember. The HOPE team is the Homelessness Outreach and Provider Ecosystem. So this is the outreach team from the city of Seattle that goes out on the streets and tries to connect with homeless people out there. What they're trying to figure out is how they do a better job of that, because most recent reports show less than half of the people who actually connect with the HOPE team go to shelter, get referred there, and actually stay there for a night or more. So the HOPE team has some concerns about that. They're trying to get a boost from the Seattle City Council to make sure they can continue doing their work, but there are some questions around that. Specifically, how does this interact with the King County Regional Homelessness Authority, the KCRHA? Now, the King County Regional Homelessness Authority, as you might remember, is working on this Partnership for Zero piece. This is where a lot of wealthy benefactors have contributed. They want to make sure that Seattle is cleaned up. They want to make sure that there aren't as many homeless people downtown. And the KCRHA says, yep, we're going to do that. We're going to reach a functional zero when it comes to homelessness in the city of Seattle's downtown core by 10 months from now. So very interesting. Start of 2023 is what they're saying there. So the clash here potentially is who gets priority for the very scarce shelter spaces that we have in the city of Seattle. Does it go to the referrals from the HOPE team? Does it go to this Partnership for Zero piece? This is something that the city of Seattle is still trying to figure out with the KCRHA. So we'll be looking at that as well. Another big issue that the council is tackling this week, a strategic plan from the Seattle Police Department. This one's very interesting too, because this is a situation where the SPD has been told by the Office of the Inspector General, you need to change some of the ways that you're dealing with crowds, crowd control, etc. A few other things from that OIG report. But the SPD is trying to respond to this with some different ways that in which they could actually respond to these crowds in a proper way, satisfy the city council, which is really trying to hold back on the use of tear gas and things of this nature, but also at the same time, satisfy the federal judge who is overseeing the consent decree process that is still hanging over the SPD. So a lot of questions around this. There is a strategic plan from the SPD in front of the city council this week. They're talking about it in the Public Safety Committee led by Councilmember Herbold. So we'll be talking a lot about that. And then finally, a really interesting piece from David Croman in the Seattle Times. We're diving into some more of the details on this. This is a situation where he's talking about the high cost of driving. And as it turns out, it's not just the high cost of gas, and we all are experiencing that. But David is really focusing on people who might be living near the margins. And when I talk about that, I'm talking about people who might be living near poverty here. So what David's talking about is as housing costs rise, for example, in the city of Seattle, people are forced to live on the outskirts of the city of Seattle. That adds to their transportation costs, right? And when those transportation costs go up, like we're talking about with gas or whatever else, that turns into a big issue for them. So a lot of people who are really on the margin, that higher gas price is really something that is almost that straw that broke the camel's back. So it's an interesting trend that we'll be watching here. You'll be hearing about that tonight on Seattle News, Views, and Brews. And I wanted to make sure I'd let people know, Trey, we had a story that it's still in the works, but I wanted to make sure I showed people here. You and I were at the Bloodworks Northwest. We checked this out just yesterday, as a matter of fact, to donate blood. The Bloodworks Northwest is really trying to reach out to people to make sure that people of color specifically are donating blood. This is very, very important. Now, folks, here's how it worked out. I was able to donate blood. Trey's got to work on that iron quotient, right, in her blood. She's got to figure out how to boost that up a little bit. So she wasn't able to donate yesterday as I was able to, but we're going to do this, Trey. I can't wait for you to donate there because I know it's a very, very important thing. But I just wanted to say thank you for joining me there. That was really cool. And that was a great thing for Bloodworks Northwest, too. So we'll keep on top of that story. But I wanted to thank you for that. And I wanted to thank everybody who tunes into Seattle News, Views, and Brews. You can check it out tonight on Converge at 7 o'clock. We'll see you there.
Oh, our guy Brian, always coming with the Seattle news, views, and brews. And honestly, it was great to be with him yesterday and our crew over there at Blood Works Northwest. As he said, you guys, it was really funny because, of course, we're like, oh, yeah, let's just set up these dates. Let's make sure we got production and everything else. And then I guess you need like 12.5 count for iron in order for them to be able to utilize the blood that you donate. And the first time she drew mine, they do a little prick on your finger and it was like 11.9. And she was like, I get to try one more time. And it was 12.4 the second time. So she was like, oh, you're just on the cusp. So we'll definitely make sure it happens when we're able to finalize that piece. You guys know you'll be able to see it right here on Converge Media. But I also want to talk about something that, Brian and I have been breaching this topic every Wednesday for the last few weeks around our unhoused individuals here in the city of Seattle. And the thing is that there is a wide variety of reasons why people find themselves in that situation, but there's also a culture of unhoused folks. And I loved hearing from some of my elders because they're like, look, we've seen this play out over decades of time. And there's some people that are like, look, I don't really want those resources. I actually like my community out here. And this is how I choose to live. So some of it is by choice, which sometimes is reflective of what Brian was just talking about with those numbers, where the Hope team goes out there, but not everybody goes into shelter. And some of it is by choice. I just want to make that point because I think we don't talk about that enough. So how do we ensure that people who choose to live like that they're safe, that they're healthy, that they have resources that they need, whether it is, about food resources or, health resources. Maybe it isn't about shelter for everybody that's out there. But also, how do we have an intentional effort for those who do need shelter, who are not out there by choice? So I think that it takes a targeted effort from the Hope team and from King County Regional Homelessness Authority for them to be in partnership. I think when we understand that we do have this body at the county level that wants to do this work in a real purposeful way and impactful way. Mark Dones, their executive director there at King County Regional Homelessness Authority, said their job is to ensure that the efforts and the initiatives that have not worked over the last 30 years, that they bring something that is sustainable, that is highly solution oriented, and that is impactful, not just for the city of Seattle, but the county as a whole. And I think it's a large task, but knowing some of the folks that they have on their team, honestly, there's a lot of brilliance on that team. And so I really wonder how much the Hope team can combine with King County Regional Homelessness Authority team and see how they can make some things happen together, because ultimately I think that partnerships really do help. And I really appreciate the mayor saying, let's take a hold on it. It's not just about cleaning up the streets, because a part of that is for folks who say, oh man, I just don't want to see this in my neighborhood. But it's not so much coming from a place of compassion. And when the mayor talks about One Seattle and this initiative of One Seattle, I think it's really important that the compassion is at the heart of that. When we talk about understanding people's needs, where they're at, meeting people where they are, those things really take a compassionate approach. And so I don't want the streets to just be getting cleaned up, so to speak, but really understanding what people want. There are people out there, we talk about addiction, we talk about a lot of different things. And I'm looking forward to utilizing this platform to continue these discussions, because I think that they're so important when we talk about our unhoused folks. So I love that Brian and David, they are staying on top of these issues and really bringing us information that's happening at the city level. It's really important for us to have some intentionality and focus on Seattle, because I do think that other cities in the county really look to Seattle to lead. as it being one of the major cities here in Washington state, where a lot of people across the country are also looking to Seattle. We have, a lot of different factors here that have played out over time to really showcase some of the disproportionality that we see when it comes to wealth, when it comes to education, home ownership. We talk about these things all the time, but it's important to keep those messages alive so folks understand these issues are still at a high impact rate for us here in the city of Seattle. And fortunately, there are people that it's their job. Now they're getting paid great money to figure these things out, but they're also doing it with an approach of let's keep the voices of those that we're looking to impact at the center of these solutions we craft and create. Because if we don't, we're going to miss the mark again. And not saying that some of those initiatives and processes and approaches over the last 30 plus years haven't tried that. But I think that there's an opportunity to really showcase it in a large way to have, again, a direct impact for those that they're looking to serve. So thank you so much, Brian, for that. And again, thank you and shout out to those folks over at Bloodworks Northwest. I will be back. I'm going to work on my iron count. It runs in my family, a low iron count. And it's so funny because in my mind, I'm like, oh yeah, I don't have any blood issues, and literally. So this is a great message for those of you who are looking to donate. Bloodworks Northwest is saying we need to reach out to these kinds of communities and be more intentional about how we approach them to understand some of the barriers and knock out some of the myths. So I'm looking forward to producing this piece so that you guys can see that there is a way for you to get your questions answered, for you to feel comfortable as you go in as a donor. And there is such a high need, particularly for Black and Latino communities, to donate blood. So we'll keep you guys posted on that story as it develops. And thanks so much to Salman and my guy Curtis Delgado for being out there. It was a great time, and I'm looking forward to finishing that story for you all. Well, after this break, you guys, I get to bring in the big guns. Mike Elizando is coming. We're going to be talking about more music at the More after this short break. Stay tuned. You're watching the Morning Update Show. Hey there, it's Trey Holiday. And of course, Besa and I had to take a trip back to Market Street Shoes to grab some items. They always know what to show us. And let me tell you, we both spent quality time to be sure we collected some amazing additions to our wardrobes. They have some of the most unique bags, shoes, and accessories. I mean, the whole shebang. It's always a good time when I get to shop with my girl Besa. Make sure you go check out Market Street Shoes, y'all, and you too can walk out with some dope gear. What's up, everybody? It's your girl, Trey Holiday. I'm right here at the Paramount Theater. You know what else is coming here? Alvin Ailey. You guys can go ahead and go to stgpresents.org to get your tickets or ticketmaster.com. They're going to be here on the 26th and 27th of this month. And let me tell you, they're going to be rocking the house out. It's an amazing family-friendly show. So bring your loved ones, bring your family, bring your neighbors. Tell everybody. Alvin Ailey's only here for 2 days. Let's show up and show out Seattle so that they know that we love them here. Get your tickets today. Welcome back, everybody, to the Morning Update Show. I'm your host, Trey Holiday. And you know what? I got to say, that music always gets me rocking. And the guy that I get to bring up right now is constantly making amazing music that keeps us rocking. What's up, Mike Elizando?
How you doing? All right. Thank you for having me. It's amazing.
You know what? It's so great that you're here. And, I got to send a special shout out to STG. Thank you guys for keeping us informed about what's going on and keeping us plugged in and connected. One of the things that we really care about here at Converge is, not only building that bridge so that our community understands all of these amazing shows that STG brings are a part of community, but then getting to sit down with folks like yourself to shine a light on your history and your legacy. Mike, I'm in awe, man. I was reading your bio and I'm like, oh my gosh, tell us about some of your career highlights.
Yeah, I mean, I've been very fortunate. My big break came working for Dr. Dre back in the late 90s, early 2000s. So he just started Aftermath, and that's when Eminem and 50 Cent and The Game and all those great, rappers, but then also with Mary J. Blige and Gwen Stefani. So Dre gave me my big break and kind of put me on as a producer and a songwriter. And from there, I got to, work with people like Maroon 5 and, I don't know, all of it, Fiona Apple. I also got to work with more recently a group like 21 Pilots. And then, guys like Lin-Manuel Miranda came calling, and fortunately, movies like Encanto worked out. And, so yeah, it's been a big journey for me too. I think back on it sometimes and I'm like, how did all this work out? But I'm super grateful.
I'm gonna tell you right now, anybody with that pedigree would be super grateful, because you understand that it's also people really recognizing your talent and your particular aesthetic. When we talk about music producing and songwriting, it comes from a personal place oftentimes. And what makes somebody great is just a little bit of a hair's different from somebody who's still trying, right?
Yeah.
And so tell us about the work that you did before you even got recognized, and how I was just telling you, consistency, I think, is key.
Yeah.
You got to stay on your craft.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, well, when I was younger, my goal was to be a bass player. I wanted to be in a rock band. And as I got a little bit older, I wanted to be a jazz musician. And in my approach to learning my instrument was just, I was obsessed with it. And I lived and slept and dreamt, and, everything I wanted to do was just be a great musician. And so a lot of that dedication sort of created certain habits. And as some of the production work started to happen, I kind of applied those same habits, where I knew I had to be focused, I had to be consistent. I had to make sure that I improved, and not just sort of, if something great happened, not to go, okay, well, hey, I made it, now I can just sort of coast. You really have to be on your grind and really look at ways that you can continue. Because once something like that happens, it's almost sort of like, when Kobe Bryant said he won that first championship, it was like, okay, how do I get my second? You want to make sure you're doing things to keep that dream going. And I'm fortunate I've been able to do this for 20 plus years.
Wow. I mean, it says a lot, because we have seen a lot of great folks kind of come and go. I was just having a conversation last night with a friend talking about the amazing work of Jay Dilla, right?
Oh, wow.
And like, oh my gosh, somebody who's, their work took them to the Smithsonian. And like, there's music theory written about how this guy was producing, and Questlove calling him just like literally the best producer ever. What were some of your influences as you kind of took your musical skills over to like actual producing?
Yeah, well, like I mentioned, I got to work with Dr. Dre for about 11 years. And for me, you couldn't have a better mentor and better teacher in the way that he operates and the way he conducts himself in the music industry, but mainly also the way he inspires others, and I think that that's one of his greatest gifts, and maybe one that doesn't get talked about that much. But, you look how he inspired Snoop to become Snoop, Eminem to become Eminem, and he kind of like finds these diamonds in the roughs, and he builds them up and gives them the platform and gives them the confidence to go on and do great things. And then that kind of, then Eminem goes and does that for other people. Snoop does that for other people. And it's this trickle down effect. I remember watching the movie they did, Straight Outta Compton, and you start realizing like, wow, what Cube and Dre and all of those people did. They didn't have any connections. They didn't have anybody saying, hey, here's, I'll hook you up and I'll introduce you. Like, they just did it themselves. But once they built themselves up, once they built themselves up, they went out and found people that they can help as well. And and that made a big impact on my life, and I try and do the same for others. You know, when I'm given this platform, I try and find ways that I can give back and help out other artists or other young up and coming musicians.
I think so much of it is that, right? I mean, when I talk to artists of any kind, there's always a thorough line around how the community becomes its own family. And I love how you're talking about that, from seeing it and being able to work with Dre and being mentored by Dre in that way. And let's just be honest, man, you're talking about the 90s hip hop. Man, Dr. Dre, are you kidding me? Like literally top echelon. I mean,
Yeah.
literally top echelon. So you really you were able to do that in your own right. But I think it's so key, because it's people pouring into you that then make you go, man, I get certain opportunities, I got to pour into others. How have you been able to inspire others? And maybe who are some of the folks that you've been able to pour into in that same regard?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it can be on a lot of different levels. I mean, even, you know, where I live out in Gallatin, Tennessee, you know, I made sure I found some young engineers who were maybe just coming straight out of school, who can, you know, are looking for opportunities and looking for experiences where I can kind of pour into them and try and give them, you know, an environment to learn and to ask questions, but then to also realize, like, you know, we're in the service industry, you know, we're here to serve the artist, you know, and so there's been a lot of different artists who have come through, you know, where I was able to work with them right out the gate, you know, and just kind of just, you know, because the music part is the fun part. A lot of times it's just sort of giving them some insight on the industry and the challenges and the time schedule and the way that you have to like conduct yourself, you know, for some longevity, because this is our dream and we all want to be able to do this as long as possible.
Oh, absolutely. And so much of it, again, it goes back to that consistency. So I love that you're pouring that into them, because that is really key. I mean, people are probably wondering, you're sitting here, you're producing. How did Dr. Dre find you? How did that happen for you to get that opportunity, Mike?
Yeah, I had the amazing opportunity to go to school called Hamilton High School out in Los Angeles, and a good buddy of mine who was a you know, amazing musician became Dre's assistant engineer. And Dre was looking for, as he called it, some new blood, wanted some new people in the studio. My buddy recommended me to come in and play bass, you know. And you know, in the beginning I thought, okay, I'll come and play some bass lines on some records and then that would be it, and whatever, you know. But it turned into an 11-year collaboration, and you know, many you know, incredible moments, and the music is one part of it, but it's more just being in that room and feeling that spark when it happens, and seeing Dre light up and seeing the artists light up, and you know, and I enjoy getting to be behind the scenes. You know, I don't need the spotlight so much. I like getting to be behind the scenes and have my sort of, you know, my ambiguity, you know. Maybe people recognize the name, but I don't necessarily need all the attention. But when I get to be in a room and you see that magic happen, it's just everything I live for sure.
You know, as a performer myself, and I was telling you a little bit before the show, growing up as like this theater kid, I knew from a really young age that I wanted to either be in front and or behind the camera, like just being so inspired by folks. And I remember that first spark for me. I talk about it oftentimes here, of seeing a local, you know, actress in a play here and just being like, whoa, so you're so right about that moment when, because you know when it's right, you know when you're in the pocket, and when it's like, oh man, you got to do a lot of tweaking to get there, but then you hit that pocket and it just takes off. So I love how you explained it in that regard. Now, I mean, you're talking about big time hits here, not only Dr. Dre and all the names you mentioned in the music world, but in Canto, let me just tell you. Okay, so look, my son, he goes to a school where he's learning Spanish, right? He's 8 years old. And so my friend was telling me, oh my gosh, the movie Encanto, it's it's beautiful. So I'm like, son, put on Encanto. And my son came to me and he was like, Mom, it's not Encanto, it's Encanto. And I was like, okay. But tell us about that experience for you, because it's very different in terms of, you know, the output. I'm sure your work ethic is very similar, but tell us about being able to do something like that.
Well, you know, I had the good fortune of meeting Lin-Manuel Miranda many years ago, and Lin, anytime he calls and asks me to do something, I just say yes, and then find out the details later. and it turned out, yeah, he wanted me to be a part of co-producing the music for this movie Encanto. And I was starting to get the idea, like, okay, wait, this is a big Disney release. This isn't, whatever. I just knew if Lynn is involved and Disney's involved, this is going to be very special. And obviously, I knew Lynn had done Moana, and so this was his next Disney project. And the more I started figuring out, like, okay, wait, I don't know that this has been done before at this level, where the representation of so many different, skin colors and hairstyles and sizes and backgrounds, and but featuring the region of Colombia, and the music, and I'm like, okay, this is going to be really special. And the entire process was a lot of work, very challenging, but so rewarding. And just knowing what the directors and what Disney and what Lynn were trying to accomplish, like writing catchy songs that you could sing to. The visuals were amazing, but really the messages. There's so many amazing layers of messages that this movie is, intertwined, and I'm really proud to have been a small part of it, and knowing that there's another generation that's going to have this movie for them to look back on and to learn maybe some lessons and to have some fun. And but yeah, it was an incredible experience, and it continues to be, I love getting to hear stories where people tell me that their kids listen to it all the time, and and I feel like that's something that they'll take with them, and I got to be a small part of that.
Yeah, I gotta say, I mean, people can say what they will, but we know that music and movies really enhance culture. They have the opportunity to do so, and we've seen a bunch of different narratives coming from white males, right? We've seen it. We've seen white males try to tell other kinds of stories. We've seen things fail. We've seen things flourish, but the ideas of diversity, I think, at the center is really key. And so I think Disney has been, trying to be even more intentional as the years come out, for them to say, we need to do our part here, because these are movies that are family friendly. So I look back at my childhood, and my sister and I got to go to Beauty and the Beast that was here. And it had a black bell, like the first time they had a black bell for this musical. And we were we were just like gripping hands the whole time. We're just like, oh my gosh, this is so phenomenal.
Yeah.
Because literally we grew up with the story of this very white, story. But to see ourselves in it meant something different. But that impactful nature of our childhood when it comes to Disney films, now as a mother, I get to experience that with my son. And so I'm telling you, there's something so phenomenal about the diversity that's included in Encanto. And I mean, my son is, we don't talk about Bruno, right? It's a real thing.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times he's watched it, but it is because he sees himself in it.
Yeah.
And I love how you talked about that, because I think that that's what we have the opportunity to do as content creators in general.
Yeah.
And, it's one of the main reasons why Converge Media was started, right? It was birthed.
Awesome. Yeah.
Because we understood, man, as much as Omari could be out there in another major media stream, I started in major media, all of that, we realized, man, we need to be able to be our authentic selves and tell our stories and bring stories from our community to the light of media. And so I just love how you talked about that, because I think you're so right. I mean, and honestly, you're here because of More Music at the More. I mean, this is something that a lot of people in the community are aware of. Tell us about this particular show.
Yeah, well, I'm super honored to have been invited by the Seattle Theater Group to come out. And to be honest with you, when I got the email, I really didn't know much about the history of it, and they sent me some links and some background on it, and was just completely blown away that there's a program here that has funding where they can invite students from the age of 14 to 21, and they can all audition and hopefully get an opportunity to be mentored and to also collaborate with one another. So the idea of coming out and getting to meet all these students, getting to mentor them in some respects, and also get to be the music director of the show. It's just been amazing. And, I've only been working with them for about 3 days. It feels like a month, and it's been incredible getting to know each one of them. And they're all so talented and so eager and so driven It's been extremely inspiring for me. It just sort of lets me know that like we're in good hands. The future of our future creators are doing big things and want big things for themselves, and I'm just trying to do my part and just encouraging them to let them know that all of their dreams are possible. You don't need to be connected or have a family member who's in the business or whatever. You can come from anywhere, any background, any skill level, and achieve that goal of hopefully being a creator, being an artist. And it's been fantastic.
I just think the intentionality of STG is so on point. I really have heard from people in community. Like now we have this amazing partnership with STG, but I've heard from people in the community about, man, no, they reached out to us. Northwest Tap Connection is one of those groups where it's like, no, when they do the dance this, and they're like, no, we go through STG. The ideas of really being embedded in community, I think, is so key. But for them to also understand that when it comes to young musicians, they need to see somebody who's made it their life's work, like yourself. Because I talk about this all the time, that some of the most inspiring things are for people to understand, now look, I was just like you, but I now have this pedigree of work. That doesn't define who I am, but just know that it's possible for you too, at a high level, right? Because seeing is believing, right? And it's something I talk about here all the time as we build more and more of a creative economy here for Washington State when it comes to film. So I'm like, look, we need to be able to produce some major films here just to get young creatives to understand I don't got to leave my hometown in order to make it, which I think is something that a lot of people feel here in the Pacific Northwest. What are some of the words that you could say to some of these young creatives to understand that, like you just said, coming from anywhere, it's really about them being on their game and being consistent with their work ethic?
Yeah, that's key right there. That last thing you said, the consistency in your work ethic, and hopefully you find something that you love so much that you have to do it. And you're not being told by your parents to do, and you're not being forced or whatever. For me, a big motivation too, as I was younger, was finding other like-minded artists and creators and people who had the same dream as me. And they maybe had some were more skilled than I was. And so I had them to sort of look up to and go, man, I want to be good enough to be able to play with them, or for them to think that I'm cool or good enough to be, part of their group or whatever. And so finding those other, those other musicians my age was huge. But, at the end of the day, I knew that this was my dream. I knew that this was my love and my passion. I just kept working on it and working on it. But the other amazing thing is that what you think might be your dream, there might be other branches and other shoot-offs, right? And so my dream was to be in a rock band when I was younger. But now I'm a songwriter and a producer, which I love just as much. And I didn't even realize what that was when I was starting. But if you just keep plugging away and you keep, putting yourself out there, and you start meeting things, start meeting people, and you start seeing things and seeing what's possible, you just keep going for it. It sounds so cliche, but it really can happen. And like you also mentioned, like me getting to interact with these students at More Music at the More, I'm getting to show them that there is no mystery, there is no magic or whatever. Like literally, it's just the hard work paying off, and the being there, showing up every day to band practice, showing up every day to write your song, will pay off. And even if it's a little bit of an offshoot, you'll still find that path for yourself.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I think too, one of the things that I really love about More Music at the More is it is the behind the scenes. Let's showcase it all, because it's not just you performing on stage. Like you said, the aspirations of being in a rock group, and now being able to work with all these amazing artists. And, something you said earlier in terms of like, hey, we're here in service to these artists, right? The idea is that you get to be a part of the process. That's a strong part of the process, man.
Absolutely.
And let's not forget to mention songwriters and producers make sometimes even more than artists, depending on your contract. So the idea is that young people can kind of see themselves in something, again, that maybe they don't envision. I talk to my son about this all the time when it comes to athletics, right? As a young student athlete, he's been playing, basketball since second grade in AAU, right? And so I'm like, if you don't make it to the NBA, because that's a very small percentage of folks who do. Let's look at all of these different ways that you could be involved in the business of the NBA, right? In the business of professional athletics. Like even if it's not the NBA, there's collegiate level, there's
medicine.
Sports medicine. I mean, all of these things. And he started to really open himself up to that. He was like, wait a minute, mom, I think you're kind of right. Like, okay, you have great talent, but if it doesn't get you there, let's think about all of these other attributes that industry created, right?
Absolutely.
That you get to pour into. So I agree with you 100%. And lastly, I just got to ask you, what are some of the things that you're really excited about for people that when they come to this show, that they get to see more music at the More?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's all local talent. These are your neighbors, these are your next, your schoolmates, and your sons and daughters. So the fact that it's all local, such a huge diversity. So I want to give a shout out to, so we've got an indie pop group called Aurora Avenue. We've got a traditional music trio called the Gooey Ducks. And a couple of I think they're 14 and 15, which is mind-blowing, so talented. We have an amazing R&B singer named Samara Rain, and she's insane. She's the next Beyonce, I'm convinced. She's unbelievable. A rapper MC named Shamar. And we've got an amazing multi-instrumentalist named Osvaldo Ribas. And then we have a singer-songwriter named Priyal Sahai, who is phenomenal. Like, I'm convinced she will be the next Broadway, hit writer for sure, and/or performer. And it's incredible to see such diversity, ethnic diversity, musical diversity, all different backgrounds and cultures coming together. And the other beautiful thing is they've all written a lot of original songs, and as they get put into this melting pot, they all start to realize, like, well, hey, maybe if you come play on this song, or hey, maybe if I come play on your song, and all these collaborations start to happen, and that's really where the magic is. And so there's a lot of cool performances in store, a lot of just mind-blowing talent. And for me, I just think anytime you can come out and support your local artist, you got to do it.
You gotta do it.
Yeah.
Absolutely, Mike. I agree with you 100% on that. And I think too, here in Seattle, we have to do a better job of supporting our local artists. We have to do a better job of letting them know that they are as great as all of these people that we have on our iTunes, Apple Music, Spotify, whatever, Google Music, whatever we do, but that they are the ones that we also want to be supporting. And every day on this show, we end our show with Shayna Shepherd. She's going to give us a little bit of hope at the end of the show. Awesome. And it's just our way here at Converge to say, we see you, Shayna. Like, you're doing amazing things, out on tour, was at South by Southwest. She's phenomenal. And the people that she works with, in terms of bandmates, they're all amazing as well. But we have to be able to showcase that to our local talent, that we do appreciate their artistry and that we support them here. Again, because I think Seattle has an opportunity to really allow people to understand, man, I could be successful in my hometown. Yes, let me be based in Seattle. Let me go global, with my tours and everything. But let me know that my people right here in Seattle are going to care for me too. So I love that you said that. It's so important for us to support our local
folks. The other thing too is, like, you have no idea who might be coming out of this show, right? You might be one of those people who say, hey, I remember when I was at that show at the More. And I also wanted to specify that the show is this Friday. It's at 7:30 p.m. It's at the More, obviously. And, tickets are available, and you can come out and see, this next generation. I think you'll be pleasantly honored and surprised.
Oh, man. Thank you so much for being with me today. Thank you, Salman, for making sure people got the information. Mike, what a pleasure it was.
My pleasure.
For me to
Thank you
speak
for
with
having
today.
me.
Absolutely. Oh, man. I'm telling you guys, heavy hitter in the building. I'm so honored to be able to have sat here with Mike and have this discussion and share it with you all. You guys, up next after this short break, we're going to be diving into some of the things we did down there in Dangriga, Belize. You guys stay tuned. After this break, you're watching the Morning Update Show. What's up, everybody? It's your girl, Trey Holiday. I'm right here at the Paramount Theater. You know what else is coming here? Alvin Ailey. You guys can go ahead and go to stgpresents.org to get your tickets or ticketmaster.com. They're going to be here on the 26th and 27th of this month. And let me tell you, they're going to be rocking the house out. It's an amazing family-friendly show. So bring your loved ones, bring your family, bring your neighbors. Tell everybody. Alvin Ailey's only here for 2 days. Let's show up and show out, Seattle, so that they know that we love them here. Get your tickets today.
When the pandemic hit, it did affect me. As a barber, I had my own personal reasons why I didn't get vaccinated. At the time, I didn't check the actual source. I thought the vaccine was developed too fast, but I was talking to a doctor and he was telling me more about the vaccine and what it can do to protect us and our family. I wanted to get back to that once was, right? I do feel safe knowing that I am vaccinated. I just hope what I'm saying is reaching into people's heads to know that this is the best decision for all of us.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Morning Update Show. I'm your host, Trey Holiday. What an amazing, amazing interview right there with Mike Elizando. And, you know, again, if you guys don't already have tickets to More Music at the More, please get your tickets today, Friday, 7:30. It looks like me and Proof will be in the building. And you know what? I'm excited to see these local acts anytime that they can feel that support coming from us right here in Seattle. It's important that we pour into our young artists, man, and artists from all age ranges. There's some amazing acts that are right here in our local city and throughout our county. Let's show them some love, you guys. And I gotta say, we were able to get some love and show some love while we were out there in Belize. You guys, check out this piece from Dan Griga.
We are Sabal's food product. We call ourselves. We are producers of natural Garifuna food. What we do here is the cassava bread production, and it starts from uprooting, normally about 1,200 pounds in the morning, and then it's thrown on the floor, and we come, peel, and then it is washed, grated, strained, sieved, and baked.
It's lighter than a potato. A potato you have to cut. Either you go deep in or you take off too much. This one is just more that you take off what you need to take off can actually help you to take off.
In 1981, probably, we started as just a way of life, not claiming a business, just a way of life, and then it evolves as local people move on with their life, looking for what they would consider a better way of life. That was a market created by itself. So we started to supply them with food, and then the business grows and grows. You put the whole block in from the top, and it grates at one stage. Then there is a sieve at the bottom, vibrates, and the fine material falls at the bottom. At this moment, we are the only one with a stainless steel one like this.
My mom did this and I took it over, so I started doing this from out of my mother's womb.
It gets no earlier than that, Tilda. It gets no earlier than that. You win, the queen. You win.
Now I'm taking out the flour out of the tub, putting it onto the comal, and I'll spread it. The besawa is used to sweep or to polish the top of the cassava after I spread it. And now I'm pounding it, then kneading it like how you do dough. All I do, I just pound it.
This is the unique part. Pure and natural, no additive, no preservative.
And amazing facilities. We so appreciate you showing us around, showing us how you guys get down up in here. The only major distribution center and processing center for cassava. Thank you so much.
Thank you too.
Oh my goodness. Oh, shout out to I'm just talking without the mic. Thank you so much. Look, I'm so excited. I was just sitting there watching that. It's my first time being able to see that edit right there at the Sambal Cassava Processing Center. You know what? What an amazing, amazing day that we got to spend with them out there in Dangriga, Belize. As he said there, it is a family tradition. And his father opened up that processing plant. And then he, as the son, is taking it to the next level by upgrading their processes, their machinery, going from kind of a wood-based machinery system to a steel-based machinery system. Just watching that piece, you guys, clearly it took me back to the time that we got to spend in Belize. And I just want to send a huge shout out to everybody over there at the Sambal Processing Center. Huge shout out to Brady, our editor, and also our major videographer for this piece. It was so important for us to connect on a real cultural level. And cassava, for those of you who may not know, is one of the main, foods that come out of Belize. And, it's very much a major part of Belizean culture. And we got to experience that while we were there. And so what better way for us to kind of cement ourselves in some culture than to learn about some of the history of cassava and going to that plant right there where so many people bring their cassava flour for it to become bread. I mean, I'm telling you, phenomenal work by those guys over there. And I just made me want to go back. Saman, it made me want to go back. That's why I'm just sitting here like watching, just in awe of everything. And I'm telling you, she was there with her hand, her hand on the iron. Okay, anyways, I could go on and on, but shout out to everybody. Shout out to, of course, Alaska Airlines and the Belize Tourism Board for really helping us find the places we needed to spotlight while we were out there in Belize as a company and as a team. After this short break, we're going to just end with a couple of highlights and things that are coming up tomorrow. You guys stay tuned. We'll be right back after this short break. You're watching the Morning Update Show. What's up, everybody? It's your girl, Trey Holiday. I'm right here at the Paramount Theater. You know what else is coming here? Alvin Ailey. You guys can go ahead and go to stgpresents.org to get your tickets or ticketmaster.com. They're going to be here on the 26th and 27th of this month. And let me tell you, they're going to be rocking the house out. It's an amazing family-friendly show. So bring your loved ones, bring your family, bring your neighbors. Tell everybody. Alvin Ailey's only here for 2 days. Let's show up and show out Seattle so that they know that we love them here. Get your tickets today. Welcome back, everybody, to the Morning Update Show. I'm your host, Trey Holiday. What an amazing show today. Shout out to Brian Callanan for sending in his video update of what's going on tonight on Seattle News, Views, and Brews. You guys can find it right here on Converge Media tonight, 7 p.m. Also, we got some amazing stuff happening where we want to make sure you guys know not only about Alvin Ailey that's coming. I'm telling you guys, get your tickets. You guys saw that commercial right there. Make sure that you guys are showing up and showing out for Alvin Ailey on the 26th and 27th of this month. That's coming up this weekend. Also, you guys, we do have some Converge discounts that you guys get for these Hamilton pre-sale tickets. Make sure you put in the password of Converge. Hamilton is a huge show, and already those tickets are going bonkers. So shout out to Seattle Theater Group again for allowing us to provide you all with these pre-sale tickets and this information to make sure you guys use that Converge password and get those tickets to Hamilton. Tomorrow we have Julia Jesse, my girl, coming up on the show. We'll be talking about all things clapback, and then also we're going to be having our guy Keese, who's talking about the hereforuswa.org campaign. Shout out to those two. I'm looking forward to diving in with all things going on with them tomorrow. You guys, thank you so much for watching. It was just such an amazing time. I'm telling you, Mike Elizando, you guys, huge songwriter and producer, was right here with me today at Converge Media. You guys, check out More Music at the More this Friday. Looks like me, Salman, and my guy Proof will be in the building. We want to support all these local artists. And I'm going to tell you right now, I've been blown away by some of the talent right here in Seattle. So you guys check out More Music at the More this Friday at 7:30. You guys can get your tickets if you look up More Music at the More. Again, I'm just so elated that Mike was here today to not only share a bit of his legacy, but the things that keep him going, which is that mentorship, that cascading amounts of knowledge, right? He said Dr. Dre did it for him and Dr. Dre did it for others. Now others are doing it for others. Now he's doing it for others. I loved hearing all of that, because you know what it said to me was that they are all seeing themselves as a part of the solution. It's not just about them building up their own personal wealth and knowledge and legacy and pedigree of music and different things that they can have under their belt, but it's about them really ushering that in for the next generation and opening up the doors and ushering in opportunities for other people to see themselves in that industry. And I'm always encouraging you all to listen to the guests we bring on, because they all in their own way are doing exactly what is necessary to see themselves as a part of the solution. Sometimes, as Mike said, it's just about paying it forward with the knowledge you have. You guys can find some young folks in your community, in your neighborhood, to mentor, even in whatever it is you do, whatever it is you've been able to do over your lifetime. Be inspiring to others. That's another way to see yourself as a part of the solution. And as my guy Big O would say, until tomorrow at 11 a.m., we want you to go forward in your purpose and go forward in your humanity. See you tomorrow, 11 a.m. Peace.
What do I see through a lens of fear? 1,000 little steps to go. What do I fear after all these years? Lord knows I don't even know. I've been running on the edge of a sundial, sleeping in the shadow. I've been begging you to see me, then hiding beyond the unreachable. Looking out left on a right-hand turn, just trying to make a deal. A lazy shoes and love is a love that churn. That's the kind of food that heals. I've been searching for the end of an era, waiting to be ready. The world is bigger than a moment. Be steady, that's how you can feel it's real. But I feel naked in my new no one is a shadow. I know no one